The important thing to remember is that in an exchange, when the deal is closed, both parties always come out ahead. Imagine that in the exchange involving the house or the car, in the end, the deal is closed at a price more or less in the middle. Let's say that as a result of her great entrepreneurial negotiating skills, the cheerful or supposedly cheerful widow closes the house deal at around 200 or 220 monetary units, with the man eager to buy his childhood home. In the end, they reach a deal, and when they shake hands and sign, one of them, I, the buyer for instance, might say, "Well, now that we've closed the deal, I've got to tell you, I'm simply delighted, because I'm going to pay you 250 monetary units, and I was willing to pay you up to 300. And I might smile a broad smile, as if saying, "What an idiot, what a sucker you are, widow, for having sold the house, because I could have paid you much more." And what might the widow respond? "No, you're the idiot, because I was willing to sell you the house for only 100. You big sucker, you're going to pay me 250. In other words, both parties always win in an exchange, and this happens in all the exchanges you can think of, not only those reflected in monetary units, but direct exchanges as well. Exchanges between guys and girls take place because both parties come out ahead. However, I do want to stress that on many occasions in our daily lives, and far more frequently than you think, we find ourselves involved in isolated exchanges, or situations equivalent to an isolated exchange, and thus it is very important when I view the other person or the good as unique and vice versa. We are involved in an isolated exchange for some subjective reason. And thus, it is so important that we develop these negotiating skills. We will also see that in the market, a number of institutional processes have developed and keep us from having to conduct our lives as if surrounded by an Arab souk. Who's been to an Arab souk? Who's been to Morocco? What happens in Morocco when you pass by? Suddenly there are 7 people shouting, "Hey, do you speak Spanish?" Spanish? A bunch of people follow you. You ask, "How much is this?" "This? 100 euros. And you say, "Ah, 100 euros, you're crazy." And you walk out, even if you want to buy it. And then the seller comes out after you. 75, 75. "No, thank you, not interested, goodbye." And now he's running down the street and calling out from another corner, 50, 50. Now he's come into the hotel. 22, 22, 20 Spaniard. The price keeps dropping, and if you're interested in buying the item, you haggle, and in the end you buy it, but for a fraction of what the seller originally asked, even if you were willing to pay more. But of course, all of that takes a lot of effort. Time, energy, transaction costs, as they say nowadays, though I'm not wild about the term. Fortunately for the vast majority of transactions in the market, certain mechanisms which have developed through custom determine uniform prices, and thus reduce to a minimum the need for negotiating ability. That is the great wonder of the market, which we will see together. For even the densest people, and those with the least entrepreneurial and negotiating ability, are protected by the market through a series of institutions, the other market processes, one-sided competition among buyers, one-sided competition among sellers, and two-sided competition. Even if we have absolutely no capacity for negotiation, the market protects us. We will see how that works. It's curious that in developed societies we become accustomed to these institutions, which we will be talking about. And when we go to North Africa and find ourselves in a souk, we're usually very clumsy, because we show our cards, or we show signs of buying, and the seller notices immediately and knows what to do. And sometimes we're not clumsy. I traveled to New York to celebrate my 25th wedding anniversary, and I remember walking down Fifth Avenue at night and going into one of the Indian-owned electronics stores. I had no desire to buy a certain product, but the seller either made a mistake or saw some sign of buying. I remember he started out asking $500, and when I was walking out the door, he had lowered the price to $100, and he kept going. He said, "I'll go down to 75. I did not want to buy, but he thought I was negotiating, and he kept lowering the price further. I just did not want to buy, but that was a very clear illustration. Okay, even though in most of the exchanges we make in the market, we are protected by certain institutions we will be looking at right away. I repeat, do not be naive. we find ourselves in situations similar to an isolated exchange more often than we realize. So we need to develop a method, negotiating skills, that prevent the other party from exhausting our buying or selling capacity, according to our subjective valuation. I've provided two very clear examples to illustrate what we should and should not do.